We got to talk about Representative Jim Jordan. Fails to win the House speakership vote for a second time this week, actually doing worse than he did during the first round on Tuesday. Jordan is vowing to stay in the race, though, while his rivals are seeing the signs and beginning their own efforts for the speakership. The chamber continues to be at a standstill, and we're less than a month away from facing a government shutdown. That's when the 45-day stopgap funding bill is set to expire. Will Republicans be able to rally around a speaker so the House can move forward with passing an appropriations bill ahead of the November 17th deadline? That's the big question mark. And for more on what's on his radar and some of the answers here, too, we've got Yahoo Finance's reporter, Rick Newman. Hey, Rick.
I'm not sure I have any answers. I don't think anybody has answers. But, the short story here is the children are still bickering. The speaker follies among the Republicans continue. There may be yet another vote for Jim Jordan today so that he can lose even more votes. Maybe they'll just keep voting for him until he gets 0 votes. I really don't understand the strategy here. But what is coming into view is, okay, they can't really elect a formal speaker, so maybe they will go this route with the interim. They will provide more power for this interim, the Speaker Pro Tem, Patrick McHenry. If that happens, what it could mean in terms of legislation that might passes, the Senate actually will originate legislation. The first one would probably be this national security bill that we've been hearing about, with more aid for Ukraine, for Israel, for Taiwan, and some border security funding. And that would go to the House. And instead of going through the usual procedures in the House might just take that whole bill as it comes from the Senate and have to put it right on the floor and either pass it or not pass it. We'll see what happens there. And then in terms of funding the government, if they cannot get to an actual speaker by mid-November, when those temporary funding bills expire, it could be the same thing. The Senate writes the bills, they go to the House, and then the House votes up or down on what the Senate provides, which is not a very satisfying outcome for people who think the Senate is the one that ought to originate these bills. And that's the way it works according to the Constitution. Any bill that involves money is supposed to originate in the House, not the Senate. But look, Republicans they've just basically abrogated the power of the House at this point. So it's like it's going to be a rump House of Representatives until Republicans can get their act together. There are some new names surfacing for somebody who's not Kevin McCarthy, not Jim Jordan, not Steve Scalise. But who knows if anybody can get a majority of votes in the House, given how absurd and ridiculous this process has become.
And Rick, when we talk about where Congress is right now, especially the House, in terms of the fact that it can't elect a speaker, at least at this point, we're going to hear from President Biden tonight. He's expected to deliver an overall Oval Office address here. A lot of that is going to be, or some of it, I think, would be speaking to Congress. He's going to be looking for more aid when it comes to what's needed overseas with Israel. What are we expecting to hear from President Biden tonight?
We're going to hear one thing from him that we have not heard before, which is, this should be what he accomplishes, which is a solid rationale for why we should provide more aid to Ukraine. Biden has been very talkative about Israel. He has earned plaudits for the moral clarity he's offered, and his complete vigorous support for Israel. And by the way, when he was in Israel yesterday, he provided some caveats to that. He went further and he said, we support Israel for as long as it takes, but also we are urging Israel to be very careful and not make some of the mistakes that people are afraid they're going to make, killing civilians in Gaza and so forth. So he has already made that case. He will reiterate that, but he's going to make the case for why we should provide many billions of dollars more for Ukraine. And we've talked about this many times. I think there's a solid case for that. But Biden has never made it. He's never said, here's why this is worth U.S. taxpayer money, and here's what we expect to get for it, or we are getting for it. And then he will probably add in Taiwan. We need to throw in some money for Taiwan here, and also border security, one of Biden's weakest issues. And then I think probably a subtler message is Biden is going to be trying to persuade people, look, I'm getting stuff done. I'm acting presidential. I'm acting like a statesman. What are Republicans doing in the House? They're acting like fools. So he may drive that point home, and this is a win for the shabby performance of the Republicans is a win for Biden. It is a year until the election. Who knows how this will play 12 months from now? But for now, it should help Biden.
We'll hear from President Biden tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Rick, as always, thanks.
Bye, guys.